Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
Camp Grizzly is a horror game based on, really, let's face it, Friday the 13th. And this is a game that initially I didn't like. And when you play it, a lot of dice rolling, a lot of luck, a lot of flipping over a card and things are happening. You know, you may never get a weapon because you didn't flip over a card in the deck that gives you a weapon. And you may get struck by Itis 15 times because you just happen to flip over a card, and that's what Otis does. And then I sat with the game, and I thought about it, and I gave it a written review, and it wasn't a very positive one. And then I played it again, and I played it again, and I played it again, and the charm came out. Look, this game does not overstay its welcome. It can, but it doesn't. It's about 15 or 20 minutes. It's not too bad, especially if you're just kind of moving things along. It does have a lot of luck in it, a lot of dice rolling, but it also tells a story. When we got done playing it, we had these stories that were pretty fascinating and really fun to think about. And the theme really comes out in this game. So if you're okay with the mechanisms not being the strongest, and you're okay with a little bit more storytelling that the game provides, I think you're really going to enjoy this one. And my mind turned on this. So this is not going to be the next great worker placement game or something like that. This is something you're playing because you like slasher films. You like this theme, and you want these things to come out. So what we would do is, usually we'll play a couple times in a row, and then if we went to the van one time, we would take that one out that we did, so we wouldn't come back to the same finale and try the different finales. Now, this game really comes down to the finales. The finales are kind of what gives it that kick that puts it above other games, in my opinion. So you need more and more of these finales. There's only, I think, 8. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8 that come in the core box, and then you can buy the expansions, which are very expensive. And you can get more of those finales, but I think those finales are really fun. I don't want to give too many spoilers. We came on one where you had to swim across a lake to get away from him, and you're just frantically rolling the dice trying to get away from him. And there's a lot of luck in that, right? If I rolled good, then he didn't catch me, and if I rolled bad, he did. But it's more than that. It's a story that it tells, and it becomes really, really fun. And my mind has turned on this one, and this happens sometimes. I'm not somebody who just gets stuck right into, whatever position I have. I can replay a game and change my opinion and kind of consider what people are saying. Okay, yes, it's not the next great Euro game, but this is what it does, and it does it well. And Camp Grizzly does that. So if you're looking for a horror-themed game and you want something to play on Halloween, and you like those old 80s stalker slasher films, and quite honestly, Camp Grizzly gives it to you. And I'm going to say this. I was out, and now I'm in. I'm in on Camp Grizzly. All in. Keeper. Here's Camp Grizzly. You can see one of the camp counselors. Very cool. It's like it's written in blood, so the box is very good. I wouldn't say the box is good quality, though, although I like the warning. There is a warning on it telling us it's for adult content only, so be aware of that. There's nothing in this video that wouldn't be appropriate for children. You're going to get standees in this game of the different characters. You can see here that they decided not to go with miniatures in this game, but they are full color. And I do like the cartoon kind of comic book artwork they went with, and nothing in this is really all of that graphic. You're going to get some tiles that you'll see in here. They're thick enough, not the most thick that I've seen, but the artwork kind of goes with the comic outlook, if you will. You're going to get some cards in the game. These are fine cards. Not the thickest I've ever seen. These are the camp cards that you'll have. But you can see different things. So here's somebody with a baseball bat. There is a little bit of blood on these. Otis strikes. You can see some of the artwork. But for the most part, it's played very adult-oriented, I suppose. There's a monster that will come out. Otis is going to strike and stuff. But I think with a slasher movie theme that you would expect this to be a little bit more adult-oriented. But it could have been much worse, and they didn't go that route. So I was happy about that. You're going to get these counselor cards that you'll have for the different characters. You're going to have your objectives. And these are like oversized cards, if you will. So they're very, very big. You can see here. Almost tarot-side cards that you'll have here. Here are the different little characters that you'll have with the artwork on them. Lots of different genders and nationalities included. You're going to have a rule book, which we'll take a look at in a few minutes. So lots of standees. And then the board itself, this feels like a mass market board. I'll be very honest with you. It's very sturdy, very good. You can see that it's kind of abstracted out. This is the camp that you're going to be at. You're going to have a counter down here at the bottom that you can see that you can track of the body counts. Otherwise, there's some paths with numbers on them, etc. We're going to go through. Very good. Very little to complain about with the components. I actually like the artwork quite a bit. I like what's included in it a lot, actually. And I like the direction they went with this as opposed to trying to be realistic, like Last Night on Earth or something like that, like Flying Frog would. I do like this quite a bit. So let's talk about the rules. You have a rule book. Prompto right here. Applause for having a different picture. Object and the game components, no pictures, which is a bummer. You have setup with a picture and description over there, what you do. A turn for the counselors, very easy to understand. What Otis, the bad guy, will be doing. Very easy to follow. Then they're going to tell you a little about the finale and how Otis will strike you during the game. They go into body count track, and then they just explain all the cards to you. I really like how they set this up and explained it. Took me about maybe 15 or 20 minutes to read it, and you'll be up and playing. And you can kind of, what you can do is you just kind of go through a turn, and then you can add in the Otis strikes and the body count and kind of pick that up as you go along and digest it. Very good rulebook. This is an excellent, excellent, excellent independent rulebook. So the game is very easy to set up. You're going to have your counselors here at the campfire. You will pick a character that you want to be. Each one will have a different power. So Kevin, if Otis strikes within 3 spaces, he may move to join the fight. He receives +1 to all his rolls. Other counselors in your cabin receive +1 to their fight rolls. Removing CJ may discard a survival card. Sherry may use nature trials freely, so she doesn't have to roll the dice. Campers in your care may reroll their special skills. Jody receives +1 to his fight roll if alone. Scream Queen, if Otis stalks, you may lure him in your direction. And then if you notice here, their movement and health. So this is going to be the movement points that they have. But as they take health, some of them might move more. So right when she's about to die, she will move quicker than some of the other people. So you can kind of see that just depends. They have different amounts of health, different movement points, etc. So the characters, and they have different panic scores. This is like how many spaces you have to move if you panic and decide to run from Otis. So each of the characters are fairly unique, and that's a big, big plus in this game. Each player will also start out with 2 survival cards. These are just cards you'll be able to use. When fighting Otis, you may roll a 4-sided dice with no weapons equipped. Move to another counselor space. These are just ones that will break the rules for you. Everybody will start out with 2 of these. You'll have 2 setups in the main box, Quick and Dirty, which is your easy difficulty, and Campfire, which is your normal. Then you'll just set up the game based on this, where things will be at. So, for example, in the Quick and Dirty, Otis will start here, and you'll have some objectives out on the board. In addition, you'll have different objectives up around the board based on what you're supposed to have here. In addition, you will have a deck of these, the tower, the barn, the boat, the van. You'll shuffle each one of these up, and you'll put them beside of the board. So you have your towers, and one, you'll have your van. Let's say the van is here. You're going to have the barn and the boat. So you'll shuffle each of these up and have 4 different stacks. And then you're going to have Otis here. He will start on 1. And as you can see, as he stalks, there's different dice that are rolled, damage, and stalking that he can do. So Otis, in this scenario, will start right here at the tool shed. So you have your player board. The first thing you do on a turn is you can move. You'll have one of these trackers on here. And as you take health, your movement will change. So Jody, when he starts out, will have a 3 movement. Very simple. He can move 3 spaces on the board. The only caveat is you can't move until a room is locked unless you have the keys. Then you can move into that location. If you decide to take one of these paths here, these are nature trails. You'll have to roll a die. On a 5 or 6, you will be able to continue walking. Otherwise, you get locked in the woods and lose a turn. Otherwise, you can just move through these locations trying to get where you want. So 1, 2, and you can spend a movement point to pick up an item. In this case, he would add the rope to his abilities and what he has, and that's kind of how it would work. Then you will draw a card from the cabin draw phase, and something will happen. In this case, you get a butcher knife. Reet. You may re-roll your butcher knife result once per fight. You must accept the second roll. There's a handprint and a 6-sided dice that tells you what it is. Some of these might be a card like this. He's toying with us. Roll a 6-sided die. Otis may strike. You might have to discard all your cards in your backpack. All the campers in this cabin are killed. You're horrified. +1 to the body count. Draw an objective or draw 2 survival cards. You just roll a dice. Maybe something happens. It could be an Otis strike card, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. Detective Hayden. I know you're here, Jeremy. Come face me, monster. Stay back, children. You're liable to be hurt. Place Hayden, and this is when he'll come out, so he'll be a NPC that will come out on the board, something like this, that will be in a stand. And he has his own stalking and injuries that he can take. Into the woods. A random counselor in his cabin is pulled into the woods where Otis will strike. Any counselor who survives the woods moves to a random nature trail. So these random events will just occur. Sometimes you'll find weapons. Sometimes Otis will strike. And sometimes bad things will happen. Sometimes you'll meet little kids like Don. At any time, Don can run stuff from your space to a counselor and any other weapon. And you roll the dice to kind of see what happens. So this is kind of how things will occur in the game. And after you do your movement, you will pull out one of these cabin cards and see what happened. If you happen to be in a space with an objective token, you can definitely reveal it at this point. You can equip, unequip. If you're in the same location with somebody, then you can trade items. So that's kind of how a turn will go. You'll move, you'll do your cabin card, you can equip items or trade if you're in a location, and then the next counselor will go. After all the counselors go and take their turns, then Otis will take his turn. So Otis will move based on his stalking ability. He'll be able to move around the board, just like everybody else, with a few differences that he can go through nature trails with no problem. And he's always going to move to the closest counselor that he can reach. So at the beginning of the game here, these people would not have stayed here. They would have taken off, maybe picked up these keys on the way. And then he will kind of move through here. So if he can move one space, he would go into the campfire. He's always going to move to the closest counselor on the board. So what you're trying to accomplish is you're trying to get these objectives. So for the barn, you need the keys, the gas, and the rope. If you get all three of those, then what you would do is you would go to the barn. Which would be up here, and you would try to get the characters up there to the barn finale. And then you would flip this card over, and it would tell you what happened. Attract a big one, a bear fight, then the end. So the bear's attack starts at a dice 4. Discard any type of card from your backpack to raise its starting attack by 1. Then the bear would fight Otis, and that would be the end. But it could just as easily have been springing the trap, a trap that was set. And I don't want to go through all of these because I don't want to spoil these up. There are quite a few in the game. So you would get the objectives, go to that location, and then you would have the final showdown of what's going to happen there, which is normally rolling dice. Now, there are a few different ways that Otis can strike. One of the ways was the cabin card. So if this ever occurs, Otis will just show up in your location, and you will have to fight him. Now, you can always run with your panic score, be able to run 2 steps away. Otherwise, it's very simple. You're going to roll your dice based on what items and weapons you have, calculate how many hits that you have versus how many he has. If you attack him and are able to defeat him, then he will just run away and come off the board. Whenever he returns on the board, you roll a 10-sided die, and there's numbers around the board, and he would just go to that location. So if you had rolled a 9, he would start out in the girls' shower on the next turn. If he defeats you, then you must panic, and you must run from your location. Keeping in mind that there is a body count down at the bottom of the board down here, and as cameos and counselors are able to die, this will go up and actually make him much tougher. If he ever gets to 13, there's an automatic showdown with him, which you might as well, unless you're the best roller in the world, you're probably going to lose that attack. So that's kind of how the game will progress. It is important to note that if you lose a finale, you're not out of the game forever. If you lose this finale, that's fine. You gave up these items, but you can go try to do another objective. So it's not like you lose automatically in the game. Once all of the survivors in the game die, yes, it has player elimination, then Otis will be the winner and all players will lose. So that's how you play Grizzly Camp. Who should buy this game? Look, if you're playing this game, you need to be a fan of horror movies. You need to be a fan of slasher movies in particular. And the more you like Friday the 13th and Jason Voorhees movies, the more you're going to like this. There's jokes in here. There's parodies in here. You're going to have to like that. Otis is really just Jason for all intents and purposes in this game. I think once you get outside that circle, you're not going to enjoy the game as much, although it's a really fun romp. There are some cards in here you need to be worried about with children fooling around, but they kind of keep things as PG as possible in this landscape. So your mileage may vary playing this with your family or kids, even though it's a game they could easily play. But for adults looking for a good Halloween game, you like slasher movies, quite honestly, this might be the best one on the market, to be very honest. For me, it originally was a Purge, but I am keeping this game.
Thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate you tuning in. If you liked it, please like it and hit that little subscribe button. That really helps out the channel, lets us know that you're getting the videos that you want. If you agreed or disagree with what I said, feel free to comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say, and I promise that I will comment back. Thanks for watching, and everybody else, keep playing.